This video is a tutorial for the product MyDataOnTheWeb. I will show you how to create a more complex database application than the one that's in the video called Basic Example. And this tutorial in this video will walk you through the example that can be found in our user guide. And you can find that user guide on our website at, if you go to businessintegrationtechnology.com/mydataontheweb.html, then you'll see here that you can download My Data on the Web, and you can also get the most recent version of the user guide here on this documentation link over here on the right. So I am logged into My Data on the Web, and I'm on the home screen. And we always start with the My Data Management task. So I will click that link to get to our three-step process. It's a three-step wizard type process that you go through to define and create your database application. The example that I'm doing today is called Shopping Lists, and it comprises three databases. We will have a stores database that is a list of the stores where I go shopping, and then it is an item catalog database that lists my shopping items. And then there is a shopping lists database that will make references to those other two tables and pull stores from the stores table, and it will pull items from the item catalog, and it will create shopping lists with quantities and dates. So the first step in creating a database application is step one, maintain my data definition. So we click the Go icon here to begin, and the screen it takes you to is a filter screen. Our recommendation is that it's always good to do a search for the table that you are, the new table that you are about to define, to make sure that you have not used that same table name in another application that you have already created. So I'm going to begin by defining my stores table. So the first thing I'm going to do is search for a table named stores and make sure that I haven't already used that name. Table names must be in all caps and no spaces. So the next table we create will have a two-word name, and we'll use an underscore for that. So for this one, I'm going to search for the table stores by clicking Web Display, and you can see I get 0 rows selected, so that indicates it does not exist, and I can proceed with defining my stores table. So my stores table is going to have 4 columns. My first column is store name, so I have column number 1. The display name is store name, and these can be mixed case with spaces here. This will be a text data type. You can see here from the drop-down box there are various data types. This is similar to what you may see in an Excel spreadsheet as far as data types go. And so then I will, for this table, or for this row, I won't be using these other fields, and I'll explain those a little bit. We will be using some of those in this example. So I click the plus icon to add that row, and so then I proceed with my column 2 is location, and this is going to be a long text field, and add that row, or add that column, sorry. Column 3 is phone, and I'm going to make phone a text field. If we wanted to record only the digits of the phone number with no punctuation, then we could make it a number field. However, I would like to format the phone number with parentheses and dashes to make it a little bit easier to read. So in order to use punctuation, then it needs to be a text field and not a number. So I'm going to add that. Okay, now my column 4 is store type. And this is going to use the reference field here, I'm going to make this a selection data type. What selection means is that I want this column, I want this field to be a selection box or a drop-down box that the user will select the store type from a predetermined list of options that we will define next. And so that predefined set of options, we call that a code table. And so the name of that code table is what we put here in the reference field. So I am going to be creating a table called store types. And again, these table names have to be all caps with no spaces. So you'll see here I'm using the underscore to represent the space between those two words. And so I'll show you how you do that here next. In this example, we are not going to be using any required fields or data checks. So you can find information on that in the user guide under advanced features. So let's add that column, and our stores table is now defined completely. So I want to explain how to create this what we call a code table named store types. So we go back to our home screen by clicking the Queries tab. That takes us home. And if you click My Data Management, you'll see there are some additional options, more than the steps 1, 2, and 3 that are required to create your database application. One of them here you'll see is called Maintain Selection Codes. So I want to go in here and define that. And again, just like creating a regular database table, when you're creating a code table, I always recommend that you search for it and make sure it doesn't already exist. Because, for example, we have a default code table named states that is a list of all the state codes, like CA for California, NY for New York. And so that way, that's a common drop-down box that people would potentially like to use in their application. So we've provided that for you in the installation. So we're going to create store types, and so I'm going to search for store types here and make sure that that doesn't already exist. Click Web Display to do the search. Get 0 rows, so I can begin defining it just like I did for my other table. And so I'm going to have 3 options for the user. I'm going to have department stores, and I'm going to have grocery stores, and then I'm going to have hardware stores. Now, value and label, you'll see in my example here, these can be, these are the same. In some instances, you may want these to be different. If, for example, you're doing a product catalog for a manufacturing type company, then you may want the value to be a product code along with a short description, and then you may want the label to be just the code so that the field is shorter presented to the user and not a longer text field. So when they're making the selection, they can see a little description, and then when they select it, all that would appear on the screen is the shorter code. So there are times you can make these be different. They don't have to be the same, but for our example, for simplicity's sake, I just made them all the same. So now that we have these defined, the stores table is going to reference this list, and when I go to add my stores to the table, I will see these and I will choose from among these choices. Okay, so now that we've created that, we're going to go back and we have 2 more regular tables, database tables that we need to create to complete our application. So I go back again to the home screen by clicking Queries, and I go back into my data management, and I go back into step 1, maintain my data definition, so that I can define 2 more tables. So the first one I'm going to define is my item catalog. So I'm going to search for that and make sure that doesn't exist. And it does not exist. I have 0 rows. So this is a very simple table. Column 1 is item name, and it is a text field. And then column 2 is an item description. And we're going to make that a long text field in case we want to get wordy on any of those at any time in the future. That will allow for that. So we add that. We have 2 columns defined for that one, so that completes the item catalog. And now I want to go back to define one last table. So I go back into my data management and maintain my data definitions. And this one I'm calling shopping lists. And I have to have my underscore there. I can't have my space. So I'm going to search for that. And I will find it does not exist, and now I can define that. This will have 4 columns. So column 1 is date. And you'll see here that one of our data types is date. And by making date a type of date, a data type of date, that will present to the user a calendar pop-up wizard that will allow them to select the date from a calendar pop-up instead of having to type a date in. So if you could make it a text field and then they would just type the date in. However, you would have different users entering dates in with different formats. And so in order to maintain consistency, the recommendation is for dates, just use the data type of date, and all dates will always be in the same format so that sorts and filters and searches will always return consistent results. Okay, so I have my date column. Column 2 is store name. And this is going to use another reference type. The first one we did was selection. We made that a selection box. There's another reference type called from linked table. So what I would like is for my store names to get pulled from the stores table that I just previously defined. So all I have to do here is to reference the name of the table that this data exists in a table I defined called stores. And you just have to make sure that the name of the field that you type in here is exactly spelled the same, with the same spelling, same punctuation, same or not punctuation, same spacing as in the original one store. So I called column 1 store name in my stores table, and so I can refer to that store name column here, and it'll pull that in. So I'll show you that when we get into actually using the application and putting data in. You'll see how that works. It's pretty neat. Okay, column 3 is item name, and again, this is coming from a linked table. You'll remember just a minute ago I defined the item catalog, and column 1 was item name. And I want to reference those items when I'm creating shopping lists. So again, this is from linked table, and this one is getting pulled from the item catalog database. And so then we just have one last column to define. Column 4 is a quantity, so this will enable me to record how many of each item I want to purchase on that shopping list, and so that's a number field. So I add that, and now that table is defined. So this completes step 1 of the 3-step process in creating your database application. And this step is the most involved of any of the steps. So as you can see, this wasn't very complicated, and this one is the most complicated of the 3. So that's about as hard as it gets in creating your application. Okay, so let's go back to our home screen by clicking Queries. We go into My Data Management again, and now we're moving on to step 2, Generate My Data Table. So let me just click the Go icon, and you'll see this is a very simple screen. All the system is prompting you for is your table name. So what this step is doing is we just defined what we want the table to look like, and now the power of My Data on the Web is that by simply telling it generate the table stores that was the first one we defined. We click the button Web Display. It creates the logic that's going to create everything that that table needs so that it can hold data. And so all we have to do is click this Go icon, and you'll see that the table was created. Success is true. So that was all we had to do to actually create the table. We didn't have to know anything about databases or how to create a new database or how to define fields inside of a database using database logic. We didn't have to know anything about inserting commands or anything like that, because My Data on the Web has all of that logic pre-built for you. So we just need to do that same very simple step for the other two databases that we defined. So we can return to My Data Management by clicking that. We need to go back into step 2, and we need to generate the item catalog table that we defined. Again, we put the name in, we click Web Display, we click Go. That's simple. We've just created that item catalog table. And let's do that again for our last table. We have the shopping lists database, and so we just put the name in, one click there, a second click there. Our tables are all created. And that completes step 2, which you can see step 2 was much quicker, much simpler than step 1, and step 1 was not all that complicated. So this is a very easy to use product for building database applications. So let's proceed to step 3. Let's go back to My Data Management. Step 3 is create My Data pages. This is very similar to step 2. What happens in this step is based on the tables that were created, My Data on the Web is now going to use all of its sophisticated logic to create the pages or screens, if you will, for the user to use to interact with those tables. So let's just do a couple of them so I can show you what exactly that means. We're going to create screens or pages for our stores table. So we put stores in. Just make sure that when you're doing these steps 2 and 3 that you are entering in your table names exactly as you defined them. We click Web Display. This takes just a few seconds, but it's creating it's using some fairly sophisticated and complex logic behind the scenes to create our pages. So our what we would call user interface screens. And so now we have a stores application or a stores item that we can now access by clicking Go. And you're going to see, well, the first thing we always take you to a filter screen, so that for any of your databases you've created, the first thing you can do is filter. But I don't want to filter for anything. I'm going to show you the screen. And really, there's nothing to filter for yet because I haven't entered in any data. But you can see here, this screen represents what I defined in step 1. I have a column 1 of store name. I have a column 2 of location. I have a column 3 of phone. And then my column 4 is store type. And you can see I have my drop-down box with the 3 options that I wanted to present to the user. So real quickly here, I'm going to just enter in a couple of stores that I shop at. So I go grocery shopping at this store fairly frequently, so I want to have this one in. I, do regular grocery shopping, and it's convenient to know which location I'm referring to, and also a phone number. You oftentimes need to call and ask a question or something, so I want to say that's my grocery store. So I add that data item, and I now have that item in here. And let me add what I call a department store. That's just, where you get your laundry detergent, your fabric softener, and things of that nature. And so that's a department store. I can leave that there. Click my plus sign. You can see we've the system presents to you on all the screens an average line and a total line, and for some applications it may not be very useful, but in others it would be very useful to have counts and percentages for the field. So if they're not helpful to you, you could just ignore them, but in some cases you would find them very helpful, and then you don't have to figure out how to do computations like that yourself. Okay, so I have just created my stores screens, and I used my screen to enter in a couple of my stores. So I want to go back to the home page and go back to step 3, and I need to do that same step for my item catalog. So I need to create my pages for item catalog, and all I have to do is put in the name exactly as I defined it and click Web Display, and then this will just take a few seconds, and we'll have the screen that we need to enter items into our shopping list. So I'm going to click the Go icon next to Item Catalog, and you'll see that, oh yeah, I have my filter here, and I haven't entered in any items yet, so I'm just going to click Web Display. I want to go to the screen. And here you can see now there's my screen as I defined the table. I have 2 columns. I have my item name, I have my item description. And so I'm going to just enter in a few common shopping items so that when we go to create shopping lists, I've got some items to select from. So some things that I buy on a regular basis is chicken salad, and I get that from the deli, so I'll put that in the description. And then fabric softener, gotta have that. And laundry detergent. Gotta do laundry every week, so I always have to have my laundry detergent. And I like the liquids better, so I want to specify that if somebody else is going to be doing my shopping for me. Let's see, and I want to get some turkey. So I want, this is deli turkey lunch meat, not a big turkey breast or a whole turkey or anything. And I need some skim milk, so that's non-fat milk. Get some toothpaste. And then we'll just put one last item in. Got to have some bread, and by that I mean wheat bread, sandwich bread, sliced sandwich bread. So, okay, so that's just a few common shopping items. It's by no means a comprehensive list, but just to show you an example, you would enter in the items that you go shopping for on a regular basis in your item catalog. Okay, so now let's go back. We have that third database that we defined and created the table for, and now we got to just do the step 3 for it and create the pages or screens, and that's the shopping lists. So just remember all caps, no spaces, just like we defined it in step 1. Click Web Display, and we're going to get our screens where we can now actually create some shopping lists. So I'll just show one for the tutorial. This will just take a moment. It references 2 other tables, so it takes an extra moment to get the screen defined for this one. Okay, so now we have our shopping lists. We click Go, and we get our filters, but I don't have any shopping lists created yet, so I'm going to click Web Display so I get to my screen, and I'm going to create some shopping lists. So you'll see here, there are the 4 columns that I defined. As I mentioned, date is a calendar pop-up. So when I put my cursor here on the screen, you can see it's defaulting to today's date, July 12th, but then you can select any date you want. So I'm going to say that this is for my, I'm going to start creating my Saturday shopping list, okay? So I'm going to put the date of the 16th of July. And let's see, from Save on Food, I'm going to do grocery stuff first. So let's say chicken salad. I do want some of that this week, so I'm going to add that item. And then Let me add another item, and again, this is going to be groceries, and I need some turkey. Get a package of that, and then let's say I need some bread. I'm going to get 2 loaves of bread because I need to stock up on that. And I need some milk. Let me get a carton of milk. Okay, and then I need some items from what I call the department store, and that's my things and stuff store, and so I need some fabric softener. And, oh, got to put my date in there. And I need some toothpaste. And so throughout the week, I can keep adding items to this when I realize that I need to go shopping. Or if I need to add items to the item catalog, I can do that as well. And you can also, let's see, if I click on my grocery store, then you can see I have my, I have detail, my grocery store detail is here as well. So I could add an item also from here. So let's say I decided that I was going to get, say I'm going to get my fabric softener from the grocery store, and I need one of those. I can enter that in, and then you see there it is in my list. So, but let's say I want to go back. I'm going to click my data. Let's say it's Friday, the day before I'm going shopping, and I need to make some updates. So I'm going to go to my shopping lists, and you could see now, now I do have some filters I could use, but I just want to look at the whole list. What do I have out here? I have everything for this Saturday, and then I decide that the fabric softener, it's actually cheaper at Things and Stuff than it is at Save on Food. So let me just change. I don't want to get it there. I want to get it at Things and Stuff, and so I can do an update. So it's that simple to add items, edit items. Let's say I need to delete something. I decided that I don't really need both chicken salad and turkey for lunch next week, so I'm going to skip the turkey, just get rid of it. And if you needed to add items to your item catalog, because this is, like I said, not a comprehensive list, and so as the weeks go by, you add additional items. You can go to My Data, you go to your item catalog, and you just add whatever you need. So, you know, this is a fairly common item that people are going to need, so let's put that in there. And so now when you go back to your shopping list, that item's going to appear in our list, just like that. It's that easy. And so if I do want to do a filter, like let's say I only want to look at my items from Save on Food, I can filter on that. And when I click Web Display, I only get the items for that store. So that way, if I'm going to run by Save on Food on the way home, but I don't want to go to the other store, I can get a list of just that. If I'm going to go do a whole day of shopping and go to all my stores to stock up for the week, then I could print the whole comprehensive list. And so there's the last thing I want to show you is we have these print utilities that we create. And so from here, if you click Print, it will launch in a different tab in your browser a list where it's just formatted a little bit better for printing, where we've taken off the average and the sum rows, and there's some headers and footers that have been removed, and so when you actually print it out, it looks a little cleaner and more printer friendly. And so from here you just use your File, Print option, and you print it on your local printer or your network printer, whatever you happen to have. So that is a more complex example than what's given in the basic example tutorial. And so this shows just how easy it is to create a database application, even one that has multiple tables that link to each other. We've made it very simple. You don't need to know anything about programming. You don't need to know anything about databases. If you are comfortable with spreadsheets, then you would be able to use the system to create a very robust database application. And the best thing about this is that you can create users and give them access to your application. So you can create applications that then you have users access. And so instead of emailing a spreadsheet around and having people make changes on it locally, people can simply log in to your the application you create, make changes that you can see right away. There's no version control issues, and so it's a pretty neat tool. So thank you very much, and as always, see our website, businessintegrationtechnology.com, for new versions of the product and updated documentation. Thank you.